Good morning. My name is Barbara Payne, and I am the worship associate today. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the North Hills. Whether you've been with this church a decade or more, or this is your first time visiting, we welcome you. Whatever your faith and traditions of your past, we welcome you. Whatever your theological stance, we welcome you. Whoever you are and whomever you love, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, whatever your journey has been, we welcome you. Newcomers and guests are always welcome to participate in any of our church activities. If you'd like more information about our church or Unitarian Universalism, please talk to our minister, Reverend Jane Thickstun. You can find her contact information on our website. Please join us for coffee hour following the service. The Zoom link will be posted in the YouTube chat at the end of the service, or you can find it in the upper right-hand corner of our webpage. The pledge drive starts March 7th, and we will be asking you to share with the congregation why you give. Why is UUCNH important to you? Look to the weekly e-news for more information. Again, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the North Hills. It is good to be together, even virtually.
Welcome, everybody. We gather this hour as a people of faith, with sorrows and joys, gifts and needs. We come to this time and this place to rediscover the wondrous gift of free religious community, to renew our faith in the holiness, goodness, and beauty of life, to reaffirm the way of the open mind and the full heart, to rekindle the flame of memory and hope, and to reclaim the vision of an earth made fair with all her people one. Come, let us join together in the celebration of life.
Good morning. For those of you who may not know me, I'm Mary Ellen Johnson. My role in the service today is to introduce a new chalice for our West Room. It started with a discussion I had with Rev Jane almost a year ago, resulting in the idea that UUCNH might appreciate a more traditional chalice for our West Room. I talked to my husband, Ed Rockman, and we decided it was a project we wanted to do. We found an artist through a recommendation from Janet McCall. The artist visited the church to see the space and view the outside area. Then the project stalled because of the issues around COVID and Ed's death in May. I later decided to do the chalice in Ed's memory. Rev Jane and I met with the artists, Chris Holt and John Steele from Steele Welding and Freedom. They worked with us on a design and then went to work on creating the chalice. The design is centered around a theme of nature, which is evident in the carving on the pulpit and the surrounding grounds. I'd like to explain some of the details of the chalice. The base represents the ground. A tree rises from the ground, and the chalice itself is supported by 7 leaves representing our 7 UU principles. On the ground, you can see a frog, an oak leaf, and an acorn, and in the back is a turtle. I wanted the turtle because of Ed's appreciation and fascination with them. Next to the turtle along the edge is an inscription, in memory of Ed Rockman, 2020. My goal was to create a chalice that represents Unitarian Universalism, but is also unique to UUCNH. I think Chris and John captured this in a beautiful piece of art. I hope you will find it to be a special symbol for our wonderful community. I chose to present it this weekend because February 12th would have been Ed's 80th birthday. I know he was hoping for a big party, but I think he would have been thrilled with the chalice. Another special date on his calendar was January 3rd, which this year would have marked his 49th anniversary of signing the membership book. We will now do our chalice lighting.
The words for the chalice lighting come from Deborah Falk. A chalice lit in our midst is a symbol of our liberal faith, a faith built on the foundation of freedom, reason, and tolerance, a faith sustained by the acts of kindness and justice, a faith that visions a world flourishing with equality for all her people, a faith that demands the living out of goodness, a faith that requires thoughtfulness, a faith of wholeness. This tiny flame is the symbol of the spark of all this within each of us. Our opening hymn is My Life Flows On in Endless Song, number 108 in your worship hymnal, and the words will be on your screen.
My life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, the far-off hymn that hails singing. When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
The responsive reading is by Reverend Olympia Brown, who was ordained into the Universalist ministry in 1863, the first woman to be ordained in a denomination. Please read responsively with me. Stand by this faith, work for it, and sacrifice for it.
There is nothing in all the world so important as to be loyal to this faith, which has placed before us the loftiest ideals,
which has comforted us in sorrow, strengthened us for noble duty, and made the world beautiful.
Do not demand immediate results, but rejoice that we are worthy to be entrusted with this great message.
That you are strong enough to work for a great, true principle without counting the cost.
Go on finding ever new applications of these truths and new enjoyments in their contemplation, always trusting in the one God which ever lives and loves.
Good morning and happy Valentine's Day. I'm Lynn Richards from the Lay Pastoral Care Team. During our service, we create this sacred space for sharing within our community. It is a time to share significant life passages with our congregation so that you can be held in loving care. I'll be reading the joys and sorrows this morning. We will also be placing a stone which represents each joy or sorrow in the sand. The sand represents our congregation, supporting our sorrows and lifting up our joys. Today, we have one joy. From Dawn Fitzgerald Swidell. Katie Swidell's husband, John Chris, had his spinal surgery on Monday. They removed the tumor, cleaned out the vertebrae, and inserted a spinal rod, as well as fusing 4 vertebrae above and below. The surgery went very well, and his neurologist is very pleased with his recovery so far. John is now home to recuperate for the next 6 weeks. We thank everyone who has offered good wishes, prayers, help, and appreciate the cards sent his way. To Don, Katie, John, and family we say, we share in your joy. We now place one more stone in the sand for all those joys and sorrows that exist in our hearts, but which remain unspoken today. We especially think of all who continue to be affected by this COVID-19 pandemic. Please read with me the words appearing on the screen, knowing that here includes all those watching. Let us hold in our circle of caring each person here. Let us hold in our hearts those who are unable to be with us today. Let us hold in our memories those who have moved on. Let us find comfort in knowing that we are not alone.
I invite you now to join me in a spirit of meditation or prayer. So please settle in a little more comfortably and close your eyes if you wish. Allow your body to just relax. Breathe in deeply. Breathe out slowly. Breathing in compassion and breathing out peace. I share with you these words of my colleague Dick Gilbert. In the blessed peace of this holy hour, we come together as a community of faith. Here we come to be fed, to drink in the living waters, to eat at the table of tradition, to partake of the wisdom of our companions. The faith we share is not a commonality of belief, not the creedal precision we may have left behind, not suspension of reason. The faith we share is a fundamental confidence in life, a basic trust in human existence, an affirmation in the worthwhileness of the human enterprise. Our faith is a knowledge that there is more to life than eye can see or ear can hear, than thought alone can grasp. Our faith is an affirmation of our human capacity to respond to all that fate flings against us, and yet proclaim to all that life is good. Our faith is in the meaning of the past and the openness of the future as they meet in the eternal present. Our faith is in that great mystery of things in which we live and move and have our being. May we be faithful to the best that is in us, knowing how hard that is to do, and knowing there is no other way. Let us pause for a few moments of silent reflection.
Our congregation is supported solely by the contributions of its members and friends. In tough times, we need our faith community more than ever. Let's make sure to maintain it, even in this difficult time. The morning offering will be taken by your mailing a check to the church or going to the uucnh.org website, finding the link in the upper right-hand corner that says Donate, and making a contribution equivalent to what you would be putting in the plate, or more. May these gifts and the work of our hands and hearts give power to all we stand for as a community of faith. The reading today is by David O. Rankin. It's called Trust and is from his meditation manual called Dancing in the Empty Spaces. When I trust, I am able to engage in the process of discovering who I am and of creating what I will become. I am able to function honestly and naturally without masks, defenses, and deceptions. I am able to reveal hidden desires and inner weaknesses without fear of criticism. I am able to focus on constructive projects rather than brooding over imagined wrongs. I am able to join in authentic relationships, in intimate sharing, and in personal dialogue. I am able to appreciate the nature of others for what they do and what they are. I am able to act in freedom with little regard for status, power, authority, or manipulation. I am able to take risks, sail on fresh adventures, and explore the dark regions of the world. I am able to touch the springs of consciousness and to see the inherent potential of life. Trust is saying yes to creation.
My life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear that music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble, sing with fear, and hear their death bells ringing. When friends rejoice, both far and near, how can I keep from singing? In prison cell, dungeon bar, our thoughts tonight are winging. When friends by shiver are undefined, how can I keep
Stand by this faith, says Olympia Brown. She was speaking of the Universalist faith, which she was ordained into in 1863. Stand by this faith, we can still say today, speaking of a Unitarian Universalist faith that in many ways has changed, yet in many ways has remained the same since Reverend Brown's time. One thing that hasn't changed in all this time is that people still refer to Unitarian Universalism as a faith. The first chapter in the Unitarian Universalist Pocket Guide is called Our Faith. Another book that serves as an introduction to Unitarian Universalism is called Our Chosen Faith. This title focuses on the fact that so many of us, they say 90%, come to Unitarian Universalism from other religions or no religion. A very small proportion of people are born into it. Most of us choose it. James Luther Adams, the primary Unitarian theologian of the 20th century, wrote a book called An Examined Faith, playing on the famous line from Socrates that an unexamined life is not worth living. As Unitarian Universalists, our faith must pass the test of reason, or it is not worth having. Some people talk about Unitarian Universalism as a saving faith, and they share stories about how it saved them by its inclusive embrace, its wide acceptance of people and beliefs, its affirmation of the worth and dignity of everybody. And some talk about it as a covenantal faith, referring to the fact that what binds us together as Unitarian Universalists is not a creed or a common belief system, but rather a covenant, a sacred promise to walk together in our search for what gives our lives meaning and purpose, whether that covenant is explicit or not. Unitarian Universalism is also sometimes called a religion, a denomination, or a movement, but most often it is called a faith, perhaps because that captures best the significant core of what this creedless, loosely organized collection of congregations and individuals is all about. So, we Unitarian Universalists have a faith we can be proud of, a faith that opens doors of the Spirit, a faith that takes justice seriously, that finds expression in speaking out for the poor and the oppressed. We have chosen this faith, we have examined it, and if it hasn't yet, it may still save us. We have a faith. But do we have faith? What does it mean to have faith? Some might feel that this use of the word faith is just too religious for them. There's a lot of baggage and negative associations with the way the word is often used. In some religious traditions, people are expected to believe things that go against reason, or at least things there's no evidence for. These things that can't be known by rational processes yet are proclaimed to be true are called articles of faith. Things like a virgin giving birth or a man rising from the dead. These things can't be known the normal way, so they have to be taken on faith. Having faith in this sense means to believe something or some things on some other authority than our own minds. Unitarian Universalists can't accept this kind of faith. For us, there is no authority in religion higher than the individual conscience, and every idea, religious or otherwise, must make sense to our minds. We insist on using our minds in our religious search, sometimes too much when we forget to bring our heart and guts along too. but we can't believe something is true just because it says so in a book or somebody tells us it is. We can't believe something is true when it defies reason. There's another way to have faith, though, that makes sense to people who use their minds and their hearts as well. There's a way to have faith that doesn't require us to leave our brains at the door. Unitarian Universalists have faith when they look and can look at all the tragedy in the world, all the suffering and loss in their own lives, and still say yes to life. As UU Minister Dick Gilbert says, the faith we share is a fundamental confidence in life, a basic trust in human existence, an affirmation in the worthwhileness of the human enterprise. It is more an attitude than a belief. At bottom, it is a deep trust in our own goodness and in the goodness of the world. As David Rankin says in the reading, trust is saying yes to creation. This deep trust, also called faith, indeed enables us to do all those things he mentions, to act in freedom, to take risks, to appreciate others, to be honest and constructive and authentic, to touch the springs of consciousness, and to see the inherent potential of life. When we have faith, we cannot keep from singing. When we have faith, we feel able to realize our best potential. When we have faith, everything feels right with the world and with ourselves. When we have faith, we know we can overcome any obstacles. When we have faith, we don't worry that our small contribution alone won't fix what we see wrong in the world. It is enough that we are doing our part. The first kind of faith I talked about believes something is true even against the evidence. This kind of faith does that too, but instead of believing something about the world that seems impossible, this faith asks us to believe in ourselves, even when that seems impossible. Sometimes I feel like I can't do anything right. I'm not living up to my expectations, and I can get really down on myself. I can look at the evidence, what I did, what I said, and the logical conclusion I come to is that I'm just not as good a person as I want to be. That's when I need faith. Faith that assures me I am good even against the evidence. I have to believe it. I have to believe I have inherent worth and dignity even when I'm feeling quite unworthy and undignified. I have to believe it because at some level I know it to be true, but more importantly in that moment I have to believe it because it's the only way out. It's the only way to feel good about myself again, the only way to feel happiness again, the only way to realize my potential as a capable and loving human being. When we are down, we are not doing ourselves or the world any good. Of course, it's natural to, and it's inevitable that we'll be down now and then, and that's okay. The point is not to stay there any longer than we have to. The world is in a terrible state right now. What with attacks on our capital by our own citizens and a global pandemic and the continued growth of poverty as the rich get even richer. Then there's global warming and the rape of the earth so that we can use up all its precious resources before our great-grandchildren arrive. It's terrible, just terrible. How do you keep from despairing? Then there's the personal tragedies we all experience. Have you lost a loved one? Are you out of work or frustrated at work? Are you or a loved one experiencing serious health or financial issues? Are you experiencing trouble in a relationship? Do you sometimes feel like you aren't doing what you wished you might do with your life? How do you keep from despairing? Sometimes when my faith is waning, I find inspiration in a poem by Mary Oliver. I knew it already, it's in our hymn book, but then one time I did a vision quest in the summer, and I found it hanging on the wall of the outhouse. I then afterward hung it on my own bathroom wall, and the poem goes, "You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high up in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. Whoever you are, the world offers itself to you, calls to you over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. Over and over. There are many ways to find faith, ways to restore our faith in ourselves and in life itself. As Unitarian Universalists, we are open to finding it anywhere. This is where our personal belief system comes in, which can be different for everybody. Some find renewal of their faith in their conception of God. Some might read the Bible. Some might find it in reflection on the cosmos or the rhythms of the earth. Some might read the Tao Ching. Some might read Marcus Aurelius or Ralph Waldo Emerson, a couple of my personal favorites. Some might find it in meditation. Some might find it in prayer. Some might do any or all of the above. And I'm sure you can think of more. Beyond these sources, however, we have a common source. Our Unitarian Universalist faith offers us the faith that we seek. Our Unitarian roots feed the belief in the goodness of humanity, and our Universalist roots feed the belief in the goodness of God or the universe. There is no hell in our faith, and our heaven is here on earth if we can only realize it, if we can only believe in it. We all have inherent worth and dignity, and we are all connected to each other and to the whole. We derive our worth from being part of this greater whole. Sometimes I think of it as having faith in myself, trusting myself and my judgment, believing in my inherent worth and dignity. Sometimes I need to believe there is something outside of myself, something I can lean on, even if it's something as large and impersonal as the entire universe. One image I like is The idea of floating in the ocean of God, just letting go of my worries and my need to control outcomes, and just relaxing and letting myself be held up by forces stronger than I am. Over time, I've come to realize that faith in myself and faith in something outside myself are not two different things. They're two different ways of looking at the same thing. When you have one, you have the other. When you love yourself, the whole world is lovable. And when you love the world, you can believe in yourself too. Finding something to love in the world can help us back to loving the rest of it, back to loving ourselves again. Author Barbara Kingsolver says, "In my own worst seasons, I've come back from the colorless world of despair by forcing myself to look hard for a long time at a single glorious thing, a flame of red geranium outside my bedroom window, and then another, my daughter in a yellow dress, and another, the perfect outline of a full dark sphere behind the crescent moon, until I learned to be in love with my life again. Like a stroke victim retraining new parts of the brain to grasp lost skills, I have taught myself joy over and over again. Over and over again. Faith needs to be constantly renewed. There are so many things that threaten it. It's really quite a fragile thing. That's why we need to come to church, virtually if need be. That's why we need to read things that inspire us. And that's why we need to hear the geese flying overhead and watch a sunset now and then. Wherever you find your faith, may you find it over and over again. May you experience the deep spiritual joy that comes from cultivating a deep faith, a faith that says yes to life. So may it be. And now let's sing together. Faith of the Larger Liberty. It's number 287 in the Gray Hymn Book, and the words will be on your screen.
Faith of the larger liberty, source of the light expanding, law of the church that is to be, old bondage notwithstanding. Faith of the free, by thee we live, by all thou givest and shalt give. Self-denying, broad and increasing heritage, monarch and creed defying. Faith of the free, in thy dear name, a costly heritage we claim, their living and their dying. Faith for the people everywhere, whatever their oppression, of all who make the world more fair, living their faith's confession. Faith of the free, whate'er our plight, thy law, thy liberty, thy light shall be our blessed possession.
Closing, these words from my colleague Jim Wickman. May our faith sustain us, our hope inspire us, and our love surround us as we go our separate ways, knowing that we will gather again in this beloved community. And we will gather again in person come fall, I hope. Go in peace. Amen. And join us for coffee hour.